In an attempt to prevent the tiny rat-formed Iolanthe from being caught by the ship's cat, Ianfear attempted to misty step ahead of it, but his wild magic surge invoked a fireball on himself. Although nobody was mortally wounded, some of the ship's cargo immediately caught ablaze and the crew scrambled to put out the flames. Tess stepped into the flames to pull down an empty barrel and started magically filling it with water. Tess instructed Misku to grab buckets and coordinate passing these buckets of water to each fire as Ianfear worked to buy the group time. Together, they were able to quench the flames and return to the task of finding evidence to convict their thief. Welcome back to New Dalancia, episode 61. 61. I can't read today. Our Dungeons and Dragons homebrew campaign. Why I can't read either. Well, this should be a good session then. Let's
Okay,
go ahead and
thanks
swap
everyone. Have a
over.
good night.
All I
All
can
right.
say is that I cannot wait for episode 69. Nice.
I mean, we've already
Nice.
gotten started so far.
Nice.
Let's see. Let me get some music going here. Well, not really music, but just like noise and stuff. You're on the ocean. It's rainy. I believe it's about. I think it's about midday. I think we all had just had a rest, if I remember correctly. Am I wrong about that? I feel like we slept overnight already. Or was it night? I think the time of day is actually the hardest thing to keep up with in D&D. It's pretty difficult.
I think it was evening. Wasn't this still sort of like after the whole we made soup stuff?
Oh yeah, that's right. First y'all made soup, and then you made destruction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what
wanted to
what
keep
it
things
is.
hot. Nice.
Yeah, Healthiest was saying goodnight to everybody. I mean, just probably like a couple hours ago, or maybe an hour or two ago before the fire happened.
Okay. All right. So we are so it is night.
Like, rats are not nocturnal creatures, but they do definitely like the nighttime, so when all the rat activities started picking up, I guess that's how we knew it was evening.
Just rats
All right,
on
very
rats.
well.
No rats allowed in the sky.
Let me see. So when we had left off, y'all had just put out the fire that Ian Fear totally started. It was totally Ian Fear.
And Tess had just finished helping Adam set their hammock back up so that they can get back to sleep.
Oh yeah, yeah. Adam is really grateful about that, and well, you're able to fashion the hammock and hang it up. Adam kind of quietly says a word of thanks to you, and then they drift off to a deep sleep.
Tess is
Exhausted.
gonna turn around to head back, down the stairs. But first, like, she does like a quick like pivot and then turns back around and says, "Sweet dreams, Adam."
As you pivot, your robe kind of like flows.
Oof, Tess's tail burns from that fireball. I should take care of that at some point. Head down to the tavern to get something to eat real quick. Tess is always hungry.
Like most times when you're in the tavern, this time there are no, words of merriment or, the room is not filled with the sound of banter and happiness. Instead, this time there's only a somber and kind of eerie, frankly, silence. The ship rocks and creaks, and you can hear the rain pittering against the side of the ship.
Tess is going to kind of hold her tail close to her torso, kind of gently rubbing the little burned area from the fireball. And she's gonna say, well, that was a good time as ever. And she's gonna hop over the bar and immediately start raiding the kitchen to get something to eat.
You can roll a perception check. The door opens to the north, seemingly on its own, and an illuminated figure proceeds to walk through the door. It pays you no attention as it continues slowly on its way toward the aft of the ship, passing by the stairs, and then vanishing on the other side of the door of the aft cargo bay. The door shuts behind it.
Looking almost in shock, Tess is gonna rub her eyes and then say, Tea. Tea is definitely something Tess needs right now. And this little chicken that was left behind. Little rotisserie chicken, maybe? Something in the kitchen. She's gonna, I don't know, grab a bunch of food. She's got the late night munchies after all the stress.
Yeah, digging around in there, you're able to find probably a chicken from the night before and some other food.
I'm catching my notes up right now, so just give me a moment.
Right. As for everyone else, I think Miscu has retired to her bedroom. Here's... yes, sir. And I think pretty much everybody else is sleeping, right? Ian Fear, Serene, Miscu, Iolanthe.
Yeah, sleeping.
Okay.
I don't sleep.
Yep.
That's true. What you're still kind of out in the hallway, Iolanthe. What are you up to?
Iolanthe is sitting outside of the door where Drea, Santigas, Bagram, etc. are in the room, presumably asleep. And she is fuming. Like, her fur is ruffled.
For some reason, I can't focus on Iolanthe, so anyone watching the stream, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to stare at Tess the whole time.
I am small, tiny rat. I don't...
Sometimes this website fights me.
Iolanthe, roll a perception check for me. Suddenly, you detect the unmistakable scent of blood coming from the core of the ship.
From the what?
The front of the ship.
Oh, like on the same level I am?
Yep.
Okay. Distracted by the smell, Yolanthe's ears perk up and she kind of tilts her head like curious and kind of cautiously skitters down the hallway towards the source of the smell. Like towards the map room here.
Yep. Yeah. Seems to be coming from the map room area.
It's getting stronger.
Yes.
Iolanthe kind of gags a little bit because her little twitchy nose is so sensitive.
Whatever it is very close by.
Can I see it, like the blood or anything?
No.
She's still kind of moving a bit slowly and cautiously and kind of sniffing around, trying to see if she can find something. And then she kind of pokes her head into the map room, sniffing around a bit.
As you approach the doorway, or as you approach the archway into the map room, the ship's cat is lined up against or in the corner of the room. And it looks as though it has something in its mouth.
Iolanthe kind of slowly enters the room and looks straight ahead at the cat.
Immediately, this cat turns, and the glow of its eyes lock onto you. In its mouth, a dead rat, blood dripping onto the floor, its neck broken. It drops the rat to the floor and begins to approach you. Go ahead and roll a nit. Iolanthe, the cat has noticed you at this point. Go ahead and roll your innit. Actually,
It's still...
Yeah, I think I have to create an encounter for it. Scene. Here it is. No, I couldn't. So, not do I have to do. What? No! That was not what I was trying to do. Yes, okay. It's this button here. And that button. Okay, go ahead and roll your init at this point. We should have combat started. Oh, wow. You guys rolled the same exact init. Go ahead and re-roll that. Woo!
Oh no.
Oh no. All right, and away we go. So first things first, the cat walks up and takes a swing at you. This could potentially turn out bad for you.
I have 1 hit point as a rat.
I know. Rolls a 15.
Yeah, that hits.
That is a hit. So I don't even think there's a reason to really roll damage, but I guess let's do it just. You rolled a 1. So, Iolanthe, I hate to break this to you, but poof. Much to the cat's surprise and utter dismay, you shift immediately back into your humanoid form. And unwillingly, I might add, the cat having caught you and slammed you in the face with its claw. The cat looks up at you in your new form and immediately backs down and cowers backward, confused, not knowing what to do. Do you intend to kill the cat?
Iolanthe kind of stares at the cat with this, like, really primal, like, almost unhinged stare on her face. And she's just, like, got her teeth bared, and she's kind of, like, perched on like, hands and knees, kind of, like, ready to spring, almost. And she's just staring the cat down, and then, like, in a kind of, like, weird guttural voice, she's like, Pick on someone your own size.
The cat immediately runs underneath the map table and hisses at you. It looks like it's not going to be bothering you anymore.
Iolanthe kind of reaches up and wipes away some blood from her face and kind of looks down at her hands, like trying to regain her composure a bit.
Yeah, you lost all of 1 hit point.
Well, like, she always has to take a minute to regain her own, like, mental state. But she eventually finds it and kind of shakily stands up, and she walks over to the rat in the corner, basically, like, paying the cat no mind. And she kind of looks down at it. It's one of Bruno's rats.
Yeah, this is definitely one of Bruno's rats.
She looks really sad, and she picks the little rat up very carefully and kind of looks around trying to find something to put it in, and then she takes a little piece of the edge of her cloak and just tries to tear off a little piece to kind of wrap his little body in.
Okay, so you want to tear your cloak a bit to
Just
make
like the
something
edge
to
of
wrap
it,
the body?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're pretty easily able to do that. So you just kind of rip a piece off of your cloak and wrap this rat's body in it.
And so she wraps it up, and then she kind of carries it very carefully over to the table. And she kind of looks over the cat and glares at it and just says, "Beat it."
The cat backs off about 5 feet and then takes off down the hall as quick as it can. Vanishes around a corner.
Scat, cat.
Bebop.
Iolanthe looks kind of like down at the map table and over at the little rat, and then she kind of searches around for a minute for some paper that she can write on.
Go and roll an investigation check.
Investigation.
Underneath the map, there are a few just kind of blank sheets of parchment that were probably there when they flopped the map down upon this table. So, yeah, you're able to find something.
All right. She picks up. Does she find like a pen or something?
Yeah, we'll say there's probably a pen and like a quill and some ink.
She picks it up and she's going to write a message, and then she stops and she thinks of something else, and then she takes 2 separate pieces of paper and writes a separate message on each one.
Okay. So you're writing different messages on these strips of paper then? Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to ping me with what those are so that you're not giving away publicly, or do you
Yeah.
want to do that?
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay. So while we're doing that, or while you're doing that, go ahead and break off to other players. Misku, what are you doing through all this? Are you just resting?
Yeah, Misku's retired to her room after the workout, an unexpected workout. She's calling it a night.
Serena, you also sleeping?
Yeah, Serene's sleeping, and made sure to close the window.
Ian, fear you as well?
Yeah, I kind of need to sleep this heartburn off.
Heartburn.
You mean the ship burn?
Why
Yes.
do your ships burn? That's not healthy.
Yes, what are you up to?
I had forgotten to move my character while we were troubleshooting. Tess is at the tavern kind of stuffing her face with the chicken and some tea to hopefully help her sleep. But her eyes are definitely kind of centered on this door to the south that she saw the ghost disappear into. So she's eating as fast as she can without getting hiccups.
All right. All right. Suddenly, all of the currently open cargo bay doors all slam shut. All at the same time.
Not that anybody's there, but Tess visibly jumps. And that is quite enough to make her lose her appetite. So carefully, she's gonna kind of tiptoe to the end of the counter and stare at these various doors. She's still hugging her tail close to her.
Are there only the 2 acid?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and cut back to Iolanthe. So you've just written down those 2 messages on these 2 strips of paper, parchment.
She takes them and she folds them up, and then she picks up the little poor rat, and then she starts to head towards the archway and peers out to see if anybody looks like they're in the hallway.
Go ahead and roll for me. Let's see. Go ahead and roll a perception check for me. You stand looking down the hallway for just a few seconds. You don't seem to notice any movement, and you don't hear any indication that any of these people are awake. You think you're in the clear.
Alright, she slowly steps towards the doorway, and she pulls the cloak of her, or the hood of her cloak rather, up over her head and kind of keeps her head down and just walks down the hallway.
Are you trying to be stealthy, or are you just kind of
Not
casually just walking?
stealthy, but just like inconspicuous. Like she's walking pretty normally, but just like got her head down. So I don't know if I need to roll for that. I can.
No, you don't need to roll for that.
She is trying to keep her ears up to make sure that she doesn't hear anybody, like stirring awake or anything.
Okay, go ahead and continue on your way.
Now, do I know where Bruno would be? I really like that Bruno's in the campaign.
Shit, I don't even know where he is. Now that I'm looking at this. What's going on here?
He's hiding in the walls.
Shoot,
Fixing the
somewhere.
cracks.
I'm honestly not sure where I put this dude. Ah, wait, nope, found him.
You check the
One
wall.
moment, please.
Got a message for Bruno.
You would not know where he is.
Okay, well, she's gonna kind of keep an eye as she walks down the hall to see if she can find him. Until she gets to the to right about where the doorway, where Balgrim and Drea and the rest of them are, and then she kind of stops and she turns towards the doorway and she listens to see what she can hear.
Inside the room, you just hear the sounds of snoring and people sleeping. You can see Balgrim there with his cover kind of pulled over himself, and he's snoring quite loudly.
What about everyone else?
They appear to be all laying down, sleeping, not stirring at all.
All right. Do they have any like table next to their bed, or is it just bed?
There is a table on the far wall of the room from the side that you're looking at. So you're on the far wall there. There's a table that have a couple of mugs sat out on it and a candle that is currently lit.
All right. Is the door open or is it closed?
It's open.
All right. She creeps in. This time she is actually trying to be much more stealthy, so if I need to roll...
Yep, please go ahead and roll it. Roll your stealth.
Ooh, can I do an inspiration reroll?
Yes, you can.
Much better.
Okay. You creep quietly into the room.
All right.
Sounds of Balgrim snoring probably helped you mask your foot. You try to kind of time it out so you're only making noise while he's snoring.
Alright, so she goes over to the bed where Holly is sleeping, and she puts the first piece of paper just kind of laid on top of her sleeping figure.
Okay.
And then she backs up to where she's next to Balgrim, next to the door, and she puts the second one on his.
Okay.
And then she backs out of the room, and she goes on to keep trying to find Bruno.
Kind of look through each of the hammocks one by one, but none of them seem to match his enormous 7-foot stature.
Well, she would feel bad if she was going to just leave this rat somewhere. Like, she wants to be sure that he's able to find his friend. So she kind of keeps an eye out for him, but she also kind of readjusts her cloak's hood to make sure that it's definitely covering her face as much as possible, and she makes her way up the stairs.
As you pass by the last set of hammocks, you notice a pair of eyes staring at you from one of the hammocks. Upon closer inspection, it appears that Adam is actually awake, and they look up at you with somewhat frightened eyes, but they don't do anything to, to like move or anything like that. But you can clearly see that they're staring directly at you.
Iolanthe
Eye
kind
contact
of...
was made.
Yeah, Iolanthe looks at Adam, and she kind of puts a finger to her lips, like, shush, very, like, doesn't say anything, but she just puts her finger up to her lips, and she just keeps walking.
Adam just kind of stares at you, surprised. Doesn't seem to act on it, though.
Oops.
Were
Well,
you not
actually,
trying to go downstairs?
I was trying to go upstairs.
Or you're trying to go upstairs to the above deck?
Yes.
Den really wants in the room, by the way.
You're going
I'm on
that
it.
way. There you go. As you come up above deck, the rain is pouring down upon you, and it is freezing cold outside. Looking around, a lot of the sailors that are out there are, doing their usual duty. They're kind of wrapped up in these various blankets and wearing several layers of clothing in an attempt to try to keep warm in the intense cold.
She shivers and pulls her cloak tighter around her and kind of quickly makes her way to where the helm would, or the what is it, the aft castle?
Yes. As you come up onto the aft castle, immediately Anterius looks over at you and locks eyes with you. He looks taken aback for a moment, but then recognizes you.
She pulls her cloak's hood down and kind of looks him straight in the eye and just says, "We need to talk."
He looks at you surprised for just a moment, and once you can kind of tell that he recognizes you, he sort of acts a small smile and sort of yelling because it's very loud with the rain and everything. He yells, "A stowaway, eh? I should have known."
She kind of smirks, and she looks down at her little rat funeral pyre thing, and she's like, "Unfortunately, I'm not the only one. I couldn't save this one, though."
Oh, I see. Is there anything I can do?
Well, not about this, but there's some things going on the ship, and I'm worried about what will happen if things escalate. I've been on ships before where bad things happened because crew members were causing problems amongst themselves. I'd rather not relive the experience.
I see. He gestures for you to wait just a moment as he calls down over the front of the deck, quite loudly, I might add. "Crewmen, take the helm!" And one of the sailors walks up from their position.
Iolanthe
on the
really
ship.
quickly covers her head again with her hood.
Takes the helm, and Anterius, as he passes by you, says, "Come with me. Let's go somewhere more quiet, shall we?"
She nods.
And proceeds down to down below deck, or down onto the main deck, and into the captain's quarters. It might be a little bit tricky. Okay, cool. As you
Iolanthe
walk in, Anterius closes both doors behind you.
Iolanthe looks around the captain's quarters and she kind of smiles and she looks at Anterius and says, "You may not remember, but I was in here before as a cat."
Now that you mention it, and he kind of leans in and looks into your eyes. It's the eyes. You're not good at mimicking the eyes of those animals, are you?
She kind of reaches up a little self-consciously and like touches the scar along crossing over her eye, and she's like, "Well, not completely." She sounds a little
Oh.
sad.
Nothing to be ashamed of, he says as he paces over and plops down into the chair behind the desk. He's obviously rather exhausted from manning the helm as long as he did. He places his wet boots upon the floor and kind of stretches his legs out underneath the desk as he leans back in his chair. I once knew a handful of young druids that in my hometown that couldn't do various animal parts correctly. Sometimes we'd have a cat with a rat's tail, for instance. It was kind of a disturbing sight, but a common one. And with enough practice, they were usually able to train themselves to better mimic their chosen animal appearance.
She kind of looks down a little bit and she kind of sighs and says, "I've never had much trouble mimicking the rest of the animal. It's a lot of times it's the coming back that's much harder.
He sort of cocks his eyebrow and says, "I can't claim to know what you're going through, as I'm just a humble servant of Val'faelen, but you didn't come down here to talk about my past." He chuckles. You seem to have something of great import to impart upon me.
Ah, yes. Well, I think
Is this,
you are...
if I may, something that requires a bit of, secrecy?
Well, I'm not sure how you'd want to go about handling it, but I'll leave that to you.
I see. Perhaps let's step into my observatory. Or let's step onto the observation deck, he says. It's a rather dark room with a bunch of windows lining the back. So you may not be able to see it here, but one by one he opens them up. Still might not be able to see from the outside.
Oh, I can see it. It looks cool.
Oh, okay, cool.
I mean, I can see the beams coming out of the door things.
Strangely, there are no lights in this room, and the shutters on the wall actually open up to reveal actual glass windows, which are unlike other areas of the ship where the windows are simply just shutters that are completely open. Now, what is this information you wish to impart upon me?
There's been a bit of discord. They are, I think you already know there's a thief that had stolen a piece of jewelry belonging to a rather foul-tempered fellow.
Yes, and last Val'faelen has told me was that there'd been another robbery as well. This time her entire collection of jewelry.
Well, I don't know where the jewelry is, but I do know who did, from what I can tell, both crimes, the second one at least.
So you know who did it then?
Iolanthe nods.
Do you have any evidence of this?
Nothing physical, I'm afraid. Well, I've been, she kind of smiles a little bit and she says, I've been infiltrating a bit in various forms and picked up enough scents and sounds and other things to be able to say for certain.
Yes, you druids, your various forms allow you to get into places that the rest of us folk are not easily capable of getting to. I've always been a tad envious of that, but I digress. Surely, though, all of this jewelry that was stolen couldn't have just been washed overboard without someone noticing.
She frowns and she thinks for a second and then says, well, the jewelry itself wasn't, from what I could tell, worth very much, but I think it wasn't exactly its monetary value that they were after. I think they were looking to hurt the victim. From what I can tell, she's been targeted by at least one, possibly others. And
Any idea why?
Iolanthe shakes her head. Well, and then she pauses and she kind of says, I have a theory, but you may have to talk that over with Tess. She has better understanding of, well, everyone.
I see. I suppose I'll have to go have a chat with Tess then. If I may, who's your suspect?
She leans in and she kind of looks around. She's like, nobody's in here, but I could be a rat, other people could be a rats. Bruno could be in the walls, I don't know. And she whispers the name into his ear.
I see. My advice to you on this is we cannot simply make a blind accusation without some type of evidence.
She kind of looks a little panicked as he says that, and kind of puts her arm maybe a little too forcefully on his shoulder, and she says, "It's getting a bit out of hand. The big guy, I can never quite remember his name, but he started to threaten her safety."
Oh, I see. See that there's a level of urgency to getting this case solved. Well, then I can recommend this. If you can find the jewelry, if you can find that which was stolen, I think with that we'll have enough evidence to make an accusation. But be quick. I
Iolanthe
don't think I need to
nods.
tell you that at this point.
Iolanthe nods, and then she reaches, she kind of hands out holds out the little wrapped up body of the rat, and she says, "Make sure Bruno gets this, and tell him I'm sorry I couldn't save him."
I will.
She nods, and then she turns to go towards the door, and then she kind of stops for a second. She says, Do you mind if I use the room for a moment, or for a little while, so I can, well, regain what was lost?"
Which room do you mean? Out
The
of
cap-
character.
The captain's quarters.
Oh, yes. By all means, I feel I should perform a rite of val'faelen. You see him kind of grasping at his holy symbol.
And she reaches up and touches her pendant as well.
As you go to leave, he is murmuring he's kind of murmuring what's the term? A blessing. Yes, a blessing. Are you able to see the door to get out? There you go.
Yeah, it took a second.
As you open the door, you squint your eyes as the light from the lantern, seemingly so dim when you came in from outside, but now that you've been in the dark a while, it's actually quite bright.
She kind of looks around a little suspiciously, and then she finds a corner, well, not really a corner, just a little space out of the way to kind of sit down and try to meditate.
Okay. Yeah, there are plenty of corners in the room that look like they don't get a whole lot of traffic. There's one right here. There's one kind of over here in front of a small dresser. There are some next to the bed over there.
Yeah, she'll sit here where she can still see the doors pretty clearly.
Okay.
By the way, is there a door behind the bed?
That is a window, actually.
Okay.
And there's another window right next to you.
Secret tunnel.
Back to Tess. What are you up to?
Let me find myself. Oh, there I am. Okay. So Tess has just finished stuffing her face. She knows that in the morning she has to meet with Drea to get a list of the jewelry that was stolen. A detailed list, preferably, is what she told Drea previously. So she's a little focused on that, but also sidetracked by the fact that, like, a whole-ass ghost just walked into that room. So she's going to take care of her dirty dishes, get those cleaned up, because she's not rude. And then she's going to hop over at the counter and kind of like staring at this door to the south and hugging her tail close to her, she's gonna slowly hug the wall and make her way toward that door stealthily.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your stealth check.
"16 is the lucky number today."
All right.
And she's gonna creep along the wall. And then, like, not open the door, like, not swing it open right away, but she's gonna, like, try to crack the door open and look into the room and see if she can see anything from this angle.
Go ahead and roll a perception check. All that you can see is based on the light that is coming in from outside. It's very dark in this room. As you kind of peer around through the door, you notice there is a lantern that has been snuffed out that you could light inside there to get a better look.
Where's the lantern?
It's on the wall just to the left of the door,
Okay.
like if looking at the map.
Okay, Tess is going to step inside and light the lantern.
Okay, you light the lantern. The room completely illuminates, and much to your surprise, or perhaps not, the room is completely vacant. Aside from
Like all the food and everything that's in there, right? Because this is like the food storage room.
there's food stuff. There are 2 big kegs of water that are meant for drinking. There's and then there are various sacks of things like flour and other cooking materials.
Tess probably just needs really, really good sleep.
Suddenly, the room seems to get very cold.
Ooh, Tess must have suffered a bigger burn than she thought. Really cold in here.
As you kind of peer around, the same figure from before reappears, but this time right next to you.
Oh, jeez.
Do I have to roll anything to make sure that I don't pass out from shock or fear?
No. You are pretty surprised to see them there. They don't appear to be doing anything, but standing there, staring.
So, like in the image of this ghost, it looks like the head is decapitated. Is that not the case for this ghost? Because
That
that's
is not
kind of
the case for this
okay.
ghost.
That's kind of creepy. Kind of creepy looking.
In fact, as you look them up and down, they appear to be wearing. They appear to be dressed as sort of a sailor. They have kind of very billowing top and some leather breeches that they're wearing. Also, they're wearing some leather boots.
Almost in a cold sweat, Tess is going to say, "Oh, hello, hello, friend."
Go ahead and roll a Constitution save.
Oh, I'm gonna re-roll that. I'm gonna use my inspiration.
Okay.
Ain't no way. Anything's better than a 2 at this point. Come on.
Perfect. So, This ghost reaches out for you, and its hands just seem to kind of like pass through your arms, and its hands are kind of like where your shoulders are. As it moves closer to your face, you're staring into its eyes, and suddenly everything goes black. And
Oh, good night, world.
so, in this void, you hear the voice. But it's muffled and far away.
I thought that show was canceled.
And it seems to be perhaps calling out for help. Before you can take any other action, though, you kind of snap to, almost as if you have the feeling that, you know when you're like falling asleep, but you're like sitting up and you like start to doze off and you're like falling?
That feeling
And
where
you,
you
like-
where you hit the pavement.
Yeah, and you like snap back awake. It's as though that happens to you, and when you snap to, the ghost is gone. Any indication of its presence along with it.
But the voice she heard is the one that she typically hears talking to her every now and then.
That's right.
Okay. Tess is going to rub her eyes and then admit that she's probably really, really tired because she hasn't slept in a room for the last few nights, so she's going to leave the room and head for, I think it's this one. No, not this one. There's a different room.
Are you putting out the lantern, closing the door behind you?
No, none of those things. She's just
Okay.
kind of stumbling toward the stairs at this point because she feels like she might be a little bit more tired than she's willing to admit.
You make your way toward the stairs. Are you going upstairs?
Yes.
Right. You cross around and climb up the stairs.
We're gonna go in this one. And then curl up in bed, hugging my tail.
All right. Is everybody at this point going to sleep? Aside from the Iolanthe, I know you're meditating, which is pretty much the same thing for you.
Yep, sleep time.
Yeah.
It
yeah,
is
we're
the
all ready.
sleepy time. Time to sleep.
Loading.
Loading screen. What is this, PS1?
One moment, please. As the night goes on, Tess, you still find yourself having a bit of a tough time sleeping after what's happened.
Doesn't help that her tail is burnt. Thanks, Inpier.
You guys are gonna love this. Yeah, it doesn't help that your tail is burnt. Otherwise, you're absolutely, like, physically, and mentally exhausted. But yeah, tonight's events have deeply disturbed you. All right, before long, you guys hear the clanging of the bell once more. Let me actually make a couple moves real quick here. What? A cat. He's so loud. Okay, I think setup's looking pretty good here. All right, let's go ahead and retransition. So the sun comes up. You start to hear the bell ringing as shift change is sort of being announced, and you hear footsteps coming up from below deck up onto the main deck. It's just kind of a flood of these footsteps. You all know that it's about that time, though, judging by the sunlight that is now pouring in from the tiny cracks between the shutters on your windows to your bedroom. That all of the this is the usual changing of the guard, if you will. The morning shift is taking over for the overnight shift.
I will say that Tess is going to sleep in probably until the afternoon.
Okay. As you do your best to try to get some rest, I'd like you to go ahead and roll go ahead and call it a Constitution check.
The little snowflakes are so cute.
16, again, lucky number.
Yeah, really. All right, what's everybody else doing? Sri, next to the room. You hear the door open in the room next to you, and somebody exits and walks toward the front of the ship.
Serena's going to wake up and, just kind of like get herself pumped for the day. Probably like wash her face in a little bowl of water that she has. Get ready to step outside.
As soon as you open the door to your room, you catch a glimpse of snow that's falling just to the just out the little arch that leads onto the main deck of the ship. You can see like snow coming down.
Is it like melting as soon as it hits the deck, or is it like starting to accumulate?
It's starting to accumulate.
Okay, so she's
But,
probably gonna go out there and play in it, because Serena loves snow. She's used to that, and this is something.
As it does start to kind of accumulate in various parts of the ship, you see the sailors kind of picking this stuff up in buckets and tossing it over the side just to kind of keep them from collecting too much water and ice aboard the top deck.
Serena's gonna make a little snow angel.
All right, roll to make a snowy.
What? Performance? Roll performance to make a snow angel.
Yeah, go ahead and roll it.
Okay.
I like to imagine she does it by just laying down and letting her wings just flap the snow out of the way.
Yeah.
It just looks like a little Mothman, but in the snow.
Oh, that would be cute.
All right.
So yeah, she makes a little snow angel and she looks at it and she's like real proud.
In fear, you can see this too as you come out onto the. Oh, sorry.
When Iolanthe gets out onto the deck, seeing all the snow and stuff, and he's gonna bundle his cloak up around and go, "Oh man, really a bit chilly around here. Maybe I should warm things up a bit."
Val'faelen, hearing you. Oh, friend. Good morning.
Morning.
I figured you'd be used to the snow. Having come from Shopabin, I imagine it snows quite a bit. Is
Only up
that
north.
not the case?
Shababin is much closer towards the center, whereas once you get further north, that's when you start dealing with the regular, or the, as they call themselves, the real kinfolk.
Real quick, sorry to interrupt, but real quick, Serena's gonna pick up like 2 little tiny snowballs and throw them at them.
Okay, that will be a... Let's see. Improvised weapon. Yeah, go ahead and roll your dexterity check.
Twice or just once?
Twice, one for each. And then you'll have to call it which one is going at which character.
Okay, so this is going to Iolanthe first.
Rolled an 18.
And then this is going... Hold on. Oh.
It bounced off of his spikes.
I know,
Oh
right?
my gosh. Iolanthe, your armor class is currently at 2.
Yes, because I don't wear armor, remember?
Yeah, and you know, that actually brings up a good point. Val is not wearing his plate mail at current, so... or his shield, for that matter, so I should not equip those. Which puts his armor class at an 11, but that's still a miss. So, Iolanthe, you get pelted with the tiniest... it's probably a... what do they call it? About 2 inches by 2 inches.
Like a snow
snowball.
bullet.
Yeah, it's like a little tiny snowball.
It's like, you know, those really, really large jawbreakers. It's like that.
She actually rolled a jawbreaker up in the snow before she threw it.
Yeah, actually, there may have been a rock in there because it hurt a little bit more than usual. Go ahead and roll 1d4 as damage. With a 2, we're going to half that damage to 1, since it wasn't meant to be lethal. But yeah, you think there might have been like a rock in there.
What? Huh?
You look
Serena's
over and a fairy is
gonna
kind of
giggle.
sitting there chuckling, yeah. Val just looks oblivious to the entire thing. Like, you missed pretty wide on him. He looks at Iolanthe questioningly. Is something wrong?
No, just some unexpected cold.
I see. I'll be below deck should you require my services. What are you doing, Iolanthe?
Throw a snowball. Snowball
Iolanthe snowball
fight!
would be the size of Serene.
Yeah, that would like splat you onto the wall or some shit.
The ship is moving rather slowly along the along this very treacherous water. You notice the pretty frequent iceberg ahead of you, and the ship just kind of narrowly makes its way through this minefield of icebergs. Give me just a couple of quick... Nope, not how we do that. Right? Okay, Iolanthe, that should have taken care of you. What to do? Wait. What just happened? Iolanthe, did your screen go black?
No,
Where
but my token's
are...
gone.
Oh. My bad. Give me a second here.
Sent to the Shadow Realm.
There it is, dude. Why is it doing that? Did it just disappear again?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Man, Foundry is being a pain in the ass today.
Try this again. Okay. And we wild shape, and it completely destroys your fucking token. What's going on with this?
Under the player characters, I have 3 different dog tokens now.
What? Are you able to drag your token in?
I don't have a token.
All right, I have no idea what's going on, so we're just going to, Oh, wait, hold up. Maybe I can...
I'll just be Iolanthe dressed up in a dog. Oh, now it is. Now it's a wolf.
Okay, that's weird. Yeah, I'm seeing the different tokens now. That's not what I had intended, like, at all. Like, that should have let me transform your actual character, but now I have 2 characters for you, so... Okay, I guess we'll just deal with that when we get there. Yeah, I'm sorry about all the problems with Foundry today. That's not okay. But yeah, I'll figure that out. Okay, as you were. So yeah, you have you mentioned to me that you were transforming again, so there you go.
Thank you. Iolanthe nudges open the door with her nose and steps out. I should say that this is a different dog form than the one before. This one is much fluffier.
Looks kind of, what kind of dog are you mimicking in this case, so that we can get kind of a visual?
More like almost more like a husky or malamute, but still very like scrappy and scruffy. But
Malamutes are
definitely
super
fuzzier.
fluffy.
No dogs.
Yeah, she sat down in the room and she was like, "Shit, it's cold." And then she was like, "Next form's gonna have more fur."
Yeah, it is very cold out. And as you come outside, you can see clearly why it's so cold. It is currently snowing, and around the ship you see various icebergs and icy water everywhere.
Iolanthe snaps at some of the snowflakes in the air, trying to catch them.
Go ahead and roll a dexterity check.
Oh, all of the extra tokens or extra character sheets disappeared.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say. You
Yeah, I
said
deleted
rest,
them.
but did we actually mark it as a long rest?
Oh yeah, everybody should go ahead and
Oh, no, what
perform
is
a
that?
long rest.
So that way, I was gonna say, like, am I still burned from the fire, and I took an extra point of damage?
With a failed dexterity save, you're not able to actually get you're not actually able to get any snowflakes in your mouth, but the action of doing it for some reason makes you feel like running back and forth across the ship as fast as you possibly can. Iolanthe, you succumb to the puppy zoomies.
Zoomies!
Zoomies!
So, Ian Fear and Serene, you both are kind of surprised, frankly, to see a brand new dog that you have never seen before emerge from the captain's quarters and do zoomies around the ship. Occasionally hopping up, trying to catch a snowflake, which it, like, completely, absolutely cannot do. It is not able to do.
If it will look
Apparently.
at this and say, did we get another pet during the night?
What do you do, Iolanthe?
Iolanthe's just kind of zooming around on the deck, snapping at snowflakes and being kind of silly, and then she sees Anterius and immediately like stops and walks almost like regally over to him and
Go
sits
ahead and
down in
roll
front
another
of him.
dexterity check, please.
Okay.
So what you think you're doing is stopping immediately and then, gracefully walking over to Anterius. But what you actually do is you stop in your tracks, flip around, run full speed at Anterius, and collide with his leg. Oh, you've got a lot of energy today. He kind of looks like he's getting ready to dodge your next move.
She just kind of sits and stares up at him and kind of tilts her head and like nods her head a little bit, like trying to convey a message that she doesn't think she can quite communicate.
How are you trying to communicate this?
What do you mean?
You mentioned you wanted to try to communicate a message that you're not sure if you're going to be able to communicate. How are you doing that?
Basically just sitting there, kind of like tilting her head a little bit so that her wolf eye is a little more like more in front of him, I guess, and kind of nodding her head.
Let's see here.
Roll for wolf speak.
Just a woo and go for his pant legs.
Leg glove. Let's see. All right, so Anterius, let me see. Have the material. Oh no, it doesn't have a material. Anterius chants a few words of what seems to be a spell, and suddenly he looks down at you, and in a sort of in a dialect that you can strangely understand, which you know to be like essentially, dog speak. He says, "What will you do today?"
Her ears perk up once she hears the dialect, and then in response she says, "I'm gonna do my best to try and find what I need to prove what's going on."
Then good luck to you.
Am I hearing this like as a series of yips and
I was
farts?
about to ask that too.
He's trying to kind of be discreet about it, and since there isn't like the rain or anything, he kind of keeps his voice way down. But you're probably hearing the two of them exchanging what sounds maybe to you like
even if he's being
mumbles and
discreet, like I don't know how discreet like even a big Malamute could be with its volume.
yeah. So I mean, you probably catch an ear, you probably hear a bit of the conversation, but you don't understand it by any means. Kind of strange. Of course, this wouldn't be the first time you've seen someone communicate with animals before. You did, of course, attend the college at Shopton. You tried to, anyway.
Well, yes, but it's the first time he's seen Anterius do this, considering he hasn't seen Anterius with an animal.
That's true.
Ianfir will just sort of like raise an eyebrow towards Anterius and say, "Pick up many new friends, huh?"
Well, the world is full of surprises, isn't it, my friend?
Yeah. I think I'll warm up downstairs. Does anyone else want to be warmed up?
Anterius sort of cocks an eyebrow at you, as if to say, giggity.
Well, I am a pretty hot guy, so.
I could use something to eat, I suppose. And he follows you downstairs. As you come down the stairs, you see that some of the other crew are already up and about and kind of starting their day. Bagram, as he approaches the upstairs galley, opens up the door and proceeds through with Holly close in tow.
Iolanthe up on the deck sees Aiden and kind of walks over and sits down and kind of nudges at them with her nose.
As you do that, Aiden kind of turns around and gives you scratches behind your ear. They lean down and get really close to your face. Oh, good doggy. They say in a very quiet voice.
Iolanthe kind of nuzzles her snoot against his face, their face a little.
And they continue to scratch around your face and ears and ruffle your fur on your cheeks.
She wags, and then after a moment, starts to make her way downstairs to get.
As you finish up with them, the drow, shielding her eyes from the sun and the kind of eyes affixed to the deck of the ship, trying not to look out on the ocean and see the sunlight like glaring off of it, goes, "That's new." Though she takes no further action.
Is she talking about me or the snow?
I don't know.
Ah. Iolanthe doesn't really pay too much attention and just starts heading downstairs, hoping for something to eat.
All right. As you come downstairs, you see you see a bunch of the various crew members who are up and about. Misku, are you also getting out of bed? Are you staying in bed?
So, Misku sits up in bed. She's wrapped in some fur pelts that she keeps with her because her blanket sadly failed her after the the burning, freezing wetness of last night. Misku immediately reaches for her pipe and begins to smoke as she wakes up, just rubbing her eyes, scratching her head, and realizing that it's freezing cold now.
It is absolutely freezing cold out.
Go see Iolanthe for that sort of thing.
Misku's gonna wrap herself in her fur pelts and pretty thoroughly. So really, you'll see just a pile of furs walking towards you with a pipe sticking out of it.
Exactly as described. Iolanthe? Sorry, didn't mean to move you. So yeah, pile of what seems to be a pile of furs approaches you from one of the rooms. A pipe sticking out of the top. It basically looks like Jabba the Hutt, but with like like furs and cloaks and stuff. And it seems to be smoking.
That's kind of a good idea. For the bonus action, it's going to use his cloak of many fashions to suddenly make it into like a big furry like cloak, essentially. Like instead of just like rather regular.
I feel like I should make you roll a check to see if it turns into a fursuit. How would we describe that in D&D?
Somehow another fireball happens, then no more furs or cloaks.
No, I said I wanted to look like a big bear. Oh, okay.
Oh.
You just wear a piece of leather.
No, you so you're using your cloak of many fashions, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that thing happens. Although the weight of the cloak itself does not change.
No. It just looks different.
Ian, you watch as Iolanthe suddenly. How do you invoke it? Do you like snap your fingers? What do you do? How does that happen?
I would think he tugs sort of at the drawstrings, and as he grabs at it, sort of like his will sort of determines what the shape or image will look like.
Oh, okay. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. So have you guys seen Sailor Moon? And he just like suddenly he has fur. No, I'm joking about that. So he kind of like tugs at the cloak on his back, and it suddenly sprouts into many furs. He kind of is now also looking like a giant, furry Jabba the Hutt.
Of course,
I should have put more space. He also looks like a giant, furry Jabba the Hutt.
He's DTY.
That's first.
So Misku kind of struts over to Anterius and Iolanthe with this mountain of furs. You can barely see her eyes peeking out through a little fold. But other than that, all you see is her pipe start to light up from draws in, and then just smoke billows out from just a random fold of furs.
Anterius cocks an eyebrow at you as you approach him, and he says, "Wouldn't that be a bit dangerous? You know, fire hazard."
Yeah, I agree. Let me help you warm you up.
And Misku will quit back, sounding amused but slightly annoyed. I think we've had enough help from you. Yet one day it's on fire, now it's freezing, so hell really has frozen over, huh?
Anterius looks back at Iolanthe to see what's going to happen next. What?
Nothing.
Iolanthe just seems to kind of let that roll off his shoulder, I suppose. Iolanthe, you're watching this entire thing happen, and while that's going down, Santigas and Drea are over here talking to one another. You overhear various parts of their conversation, but among them, Santigas seems to continuously prod her. You sure you're okay then? Yeah, I'm all right. I'm fine.
Iolanthe kind of pads over to Drea and sits down in front of her and wags her tail.
They both look down at you. Huh. I don't think I've seen this dog before. Have you? Yeah. Isn't this that dog that was on the ship the other day? Well, I don't think that dog was nearly as fluffy as this one. Maybe you're right. They kind of just continue about their conversation. And although Santigas occasionally pokes her, she doesn't seem to talk at all about what happened the night before.
Iolanthe's satisfied with this, or at least, recognizes that she's not going to get anything else from that, and goes into the kitchen to try to get something to eat.
As you enter the kitchen, there,
Which is
sitting
black.
across the... What's that?
It's dark in here.
What? Oh, my bad. There we go.
There we go. Oh, there's a whole ass ham on the table. Ilanthe's going for that, for sure.
As you walk into this room, Holly is sitting directly across from Bogram, and they are simply just eating, not talking. It's kind of actually kind of creepy.
Iolanthe side-eyes the both of them as she's trying to find her food, but she doesn't really engage with either of them.
Ianfear, are you also going into the galley?
Yeah.
And Misker will follow suit.
So you all see Bogram and Holly sitting across from each other and some of the silent... Whoops. Just silently eating. Anterius walks in slowly. I suppose I'll get to work then. And he does so. He goes over to the stove. He grabs a few ingredients from crates here or there and starts putting together plates, one at a time. Bogram kind of... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Misku's kind of just perusing around the room. She'll walk up to the table, find a little scrap of bread or something, and you'll just see her hand kind of just dart out from her furs and just kind of like grab at it and bring it back into the furs.
Iolanthe, you notice that Holly isn't really eating a whole lot. She just kind of seems to be picking at her food little by little. Bogram, on the other hand, is absolutely gorging himself.
Can Anterius still speak with animals?
Yes, for the next few minutes.
Actually, Iolanthe realizes that with Santigas and Drea in the hallway and Bogram and Holly here, that the room is unoccupied, and she decides now's a good time. So she kind of tries to communicate to Anterius, I'm going to go see what I can find out now. Keep these two occupied if you can.
You wait for an opportunity in which Anterius approaches the table and places a plate in front of Ianfear. You communicate this with him, and he looks down at you and kind of gives an affirmative nod as he turns around and places a plate in front of Holly, who says, I didn't want anything. Well, let me know how it is, he says. Sort of the kind of crooked smile, and then proceeds to walk back to the stove. As you are exiting the room, Iolanthe, you notice that Holly has been tasked with actually eating something, and now she's picking up the plate that Anterius has placed before her.
Like
So it
she's
seems
actually
she's
eating
gonna
now?
be
Or...
yeah, it seems like she's going to be occupied for a little bit.
Ah, gotcha. So Iolanthe heads out of the room and down the hall a bit. While she's walking towards, like, she's walking at a pretty normal dog pace, but she's also kind of sniffing the air and sometimes the floor, just trying to see if she can catch anything unusual, as usual. That's just a habit of hers.
Okay. I will say that as you're walking, val'faelen comes up from below deck, and upon coming down the stairs, he approaches Santigas and Drea and engages in conversation with the two of them.
As she passes by and as val'faelen comes upstairs, she catches a whiff of whatever he was last smoking and stops almost in her tracks, like with her nose guiding her towards the smell of the smoke, like very distracted.
Yeah, he has definitely, actually, he currently is smoking a pipe in hand, and he's just kind of puffing away at it in the midst of conversation, occasionally breaking into the laughter. This is obviously a much nicer conversation than the more somber one that was being had prior.
She kind of snaps out of her distraction and heads towards the room. And she kind of,
you notice that the door has been left open.
she looks over to make sure nobody is watching before going in.
All of the various sailors are all sleeping, and the conversation ongoing is distracting them from seeing you enter this room. So yeah, you're fine.
All right, so she goes in. Does she see anything in the room immediately?
No.
All right, so she makes a beeline over to the bed where Holly usually keeps her satchel and sees if she can try to find a way to get to it.
Okay, how would you like to do that?
Well, she keeps it under the bed, like tucked under the mattress, right?
That's right.
Am I able...
It was last time anyway.
Okay, is it... Can I see if it's still there?
How would you like to do that?
I'm gonna try to
like,
nudge my nose.
The mattress, or...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I'd like you to go ahead and roll an investigation check. Since you are a dog, go ahead and roll this with advantage. So go ahead and roll it a second time. We'll take the higher of these two rolls. Because this kind of does have to do with smell.
Oops, that was a medicine.
That's oh yeah, that is a different modifier. Okay, your second roll was an 18, so yeah, you start to kind of sniff around the mattress until you get the distinct smell of this beef, and going underneath the mattress with your nose, it's a bit in there. You have to kind of push the mattress up in order to get your head underneath far enough to find the satchel that this stuff is in, but you eventually do find it. However, in doing so, the mattress itself is slightly raised. And when that happens, you hear sort of a jingling noise.
Like coming from the mattress?
Coming from the mattress.
All right.
It's like, it's almost like coins.
Do I see like a hole or a tear or something where that could have been put in there?
Not immediately.
Is the satchel, like, am I able to pull it out?
Yeah, the satchel's now in your mouth.
Okay, so I pull it out and I kind of set it on the ground and try to root around in it with my snoot.
The satchel contains beef jerky. It's like a jerky, but that's it.
Yolanthe's mouth just starts watering, and she almost starts to gorge herself on it before she was able to catch herself and say no.
Yeah, roll a Constitution check.
Okay. Should I roll it at disadvantage?
No. Actually, yeah. Go ahead and roll it to disadvantage.
Because I am a hungry puppy.
Yeah, because I just realized you haven't eaten today. Yeah, you're able to you kind of start to eat a few strips of this beef jerky, but you quickly kind of catch yourself. Like, what am I doing? Okay, I need to focus.
First the pipe and then the beef. Okay, so just beef.
Just beef.
Okay. Iolanthe kind of thinks about that for a second, and then she thinks about the mattress, and she kind of hops up onto the mattress.
Okay.
And starts kind of waffling around, seeing if she can find like an opening.
As you kind of move around this mattress, you notice that it's kind of lumpy.
Gross. Wait, lumpy how?
Like there are lumps in it. Like there are parts of this mattress that, like, I don't know, it's like like an old mattress that's like not very comfortable. Like or maybe there's something in there. I don't know.
Iolanthe goes over, like she kind of she kind of hops down off the mattress, and goes over to Holly's bed, which I think is this one. It might be the next one.
Yeah, it actually is the one exactly in this lower corner.
And
Yep.
she looks around to see if she can find any jewelry there.
Go ahead and roll an investigation check.
Wait, whose bed were you at originally that had the jerky?
I think it's just an extra bed.
Yeah, it's an unoccupied
It's just
bed.
okay.
Well, as far as you know, it's an unoccupied bed.
Okay.
Try as you might, you can't find anything out of the ordinary about this bed. It seems that Holly, when she wakes up, probably takes all of her belongings with her. There's no, some of the beds, tend to have things underneath them like, clothes or other such articles, but this one is completely barren, devoid of anything that you can find.
Okay. Now she moves on to the table. Is there any drawers on it? Like a desk?
No.
Or is it just a flat table and nothing's
Just a
on it?
flat table. Yeah, nothing. Well, the only things that are on the table are a couple of mugs for drinking, and then there's a candle.
Okay.
The
Alright.
mugs are currently empty, and they appear clean.
She kind of moves over to the other side of the room and just kind of does a little cursory sniff at the other beds, where Drea and Santiga sleep, just to see if she picks up anything at all.
We'll say that Drea's bed probably smells like tears, and
Oh.
Santigas's bed probably smells like sand and revolvers.
All right. So she goes back to the first mattress, and she kind of shrugs like internally, like just in her head, just like, oh well, guess I have no choice. And she starts trying to like tear a hole into the mattress with her teeth.
Go ahead and roll a Go ahead and roll a strength check.
Oof.
The mattress, rather wide, you sink your jaws into it, but they kind of lock around this mattress that then puffs back out, and you're having a hard time getting it out of your mouth. So you are now, so you kind of lift up the mattress, and you are now walking around with this mattress. The mattress, as you move
Oh
around,
God.
is making this jingling noise. You can now say beyond the shadow of a doubt that there is something in there.
But I'm
But
stuck in it.
what, you have no idea what it is. But yeah, it's currently stuck in your mouth.
Oops. Am I able to try and get loose or shake it off?
Sure, you could do that. How do you want to just kind of like kill shake it? Or
She wants to try and like put her paws bracing against it and try to like yank her head back to try and get unstuck.
okay. Go ahead and roll a strength check.
Shake it like a Polaroid picture.
You yank and you yank and you yank against this mattress. You are finally able to dislodge it from your jowls. The mattress, though, it tears open, and yeah, now you have a clear way that you can get inside this thing.
Okay, I'm gonna stick my nose in and see if I can smell what it is, or see if I can like somehow like get my eye. Like, is there like a hole to look into?
Not one that you could fit into, no. But there is a hole big enough to get your snoot in and maybe get a good whiff, if that's
Yeah.
what you intend to do.
Well, I was gonna try to like peer into it to see if I could see what it was, if it was just coins or something.
Yeah, try as you might, you can't see into it.
All right, I try to waffle my nose in.
Okay, you're able to kind of get your nose inside this mattress. There's a sort of crevice where you can get that, and then go ahead and roll a perception check with advantage, if you please. Or you can roll an investigation, whichever is higher for you. Although I think they're the same. The smell is it's a very metallic smell, and typically when you smell money in specific coin, it has a sort of musky, dirty kind of smell to it because coin exchanges hands a lot. But this particular smell has no such quality about it.
Okay. But I don't smell anything particularly incriminating, we'll say.
No, outside of the little bit more distant smell of beef.
All right, Iolanthe, picking up on the beef, immediately yanks her head back, assuming she doesn't get her head stuck again. And she bolts towards the kitchen.
As you come out the door, Anterius is sort of turned around and is walking toward the door that you just came out of. I'm sorry, not Anterius, it's Val. Kind of steps toward you. Is everything... Wait, I'm talking to a dog. He kind of continues back toward the door and looks through.
Iolanthe actually, like, she only, like, briefly acknowledges Val, but she is, like, racing to the kitchen. Because she knows that speak with animals only lasts so long, and she, like, basically comes bursting into the kitchen and, like, skids to a halt in front of Anterius, and, like, she immediately, like, practically screaming into his head, "I found something!"
I was gonna say, should Val roll dexterity because this big dog is basically gonna almost run through his legs?
Well, she stopped momentarily. But then, like, took off past him. However, as you come barreling into Anterius's legs, he turns around and leans down toward you. And in common, he says, "Oh, welcome back, pup."
It takes Iolanthe kind of a second to realize he can't understand her anymore. and she gives like the most frustrated.
Well, guys, that's about all the time we've got for today. We'll go ahead and pick we'll pick this up next time, and I hope that you'll join us from 5 to 7 p.m. every Sunday here on VGpunx channel for the next episode of New Dalancia, our Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition campaign. Until next time, I'm VGpunx, your most gracious DM, and I am signing off. Keep a song in your heart.